We now have the final of the Under-21 men's quad scull. In lane 2, University of Queensland. In lane 3, Swan River. In lane 4, Sydney University Boat Club. In lane 5, Western Australia Rowing Club. In lane 6, Toowong. In lane 7, North Esk. In lane 8, Melbourne University Boat Club.
And a slightly faster start here in the Under-21 men's quad scull final, already through the 500-metre mark. West Australian Rowing Club, again, the race leaders here, although obviously coming out second in the women's quad and picking up a solid win. This time they've decided to lead from the front. Their time through the 500-metre, 1:28.39. In second place, it's currently Sydney Uni with Swan River in third, Toowong in fourth, North Esk in fifth, Uni of Queensland in sixth, and Melbourne Uni currently sitting in seventh place. But the Sydney University crew certainly one to watch here as well as they start to edge up on WARC, with young Charles Wheatley picking up a win in both the single and the double in the Under-21 men's events. And we can see they're starting now to get a little bit more of an overlap over the early race leaders. Chase Dietner, John Pisano, Oscar Winter and Jonathan Aspey, coached by Joseph Tamigi from WA Rowing Club. The crew from Sydney Uni, Jacob Flanagan, Matt Murray, Charlie Wheatley and Leon Chambers, coached by Dustin Butler and Don McLaughlin. Those two leading now as they come through the 1,000-metre mark. WA Rowing Club still leading by just over a second. Their time through the K, 3:01.4. Swan River still sitting in third place, so our top, actually all of our placings remaining unchanged there. Swan River in third, Toowong still in fourth, about 4 seconds back then. North Esk in fifth, Uni of Queensland in sixth, and Melbourne University as we watch this final of the Under-21 men's quad move into its third of 4 stages. But WA Rowing Club feeling the pressure now as Sydney Uni starts to wind through this third 500. They've made a pretty good move there just coming through the K, and they're almost levelling up the field here with WA Rowing Club. But those two now locked in a bit of a battle up the front, and they're extending their lead further over Swan River. They were 3.5 seconds back, Swan River, but I'd say they're probably out to close to 5 or 6 seconds at the 1,500 as they come through. And Sydney University now just edging their bow in front. WA Rowing Club, I don't think are going to have the legs to respond here. Sydney Uni sitting a couple of points higher, but still well and truly controlled and looking like they're going to have a little bit left for this last 500. But a very good move indeed there from Sydney University Boat Club as they take the front of the pack of the Under-21 men's quad scull final. I see all the coaches there carefully watching their charges as they approach the final 500 now. And through the 1,500 metres they come. Sydney University now 4:35.77 their time through as they move up into the number 1 spot, with WA Rowing Club sitting in second place, 1.5 seconds behind. In third, it's Swan River with Toowong still in fourth, North Esk in fifth, and University of Queensland in sixth, with Melbourne University sitting in the back of the field there in seventh place. As we see all of these boats starting to wind up for the line now as they approach 250 metres to go. But Sydney University, much like WA Rowing Club in the previous event, the women's version of this quad scull, has taken the lead through the third 500 and are now consolidating their position. They're in a very commanding spot indeed as they approach now 200 metres to go. WA Rowing Club sitting comfortably in second. I don't think anyone's going to be putting them in much danger of losing the silver medal. But the race still on here for bronze. I think we'd have to be saying the crew from Swan River comfortably in the bronze medal position. But the boat from Toowong in lane 6, Ben Roggenkamp, Sam Scott, Tom Davidson and Tyson Resch, maybe trying to say something about this, but I think they're going to have left their run a little bit too late and are now in danger from North Esk in lane 7. So Swan River approaching the line in a good spot for a bronze medal here, but it's all about Sydney Uni at the front. They've moved themselves out to just over a length lead, and no matter what WA Rowing Club does here, it's going to be too little too late. Sydney Uni will pick up a resounding win for their club in the Under-21 men's quad. Second a length behind, it'll be WA Rowing Club. A very well-run race for those boys there. Bronze will be Swan River in lane 3. It'll be Toowong in 4th place. 5th is going to be the boat in lane 7 from North Esk. It'll be 6th to Queensland University on the far side, and then 7th to Melbourne Uni in lane 8 to round out our final.
The results of the Under-21 men's quad scull. A win for Sydney University Boat Club. 2nd, Western Australia Rowing Club. 3rd, Swan River Rowing Club. 4th, Toowong. 5th, North Esk. 6th, University of Queensland Boat Club. 7th, Melbourne University Boat Club. The provisional time 6 minutes 10.09 seconds. The margins 2.65, 7.09. The presentation of medals for the Under-21 Women's Quad Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by David Bagnall, President of Rowing ACT. Third place and bronze medalists, Mossman Rowing Club. Annika Altenberger. Katie Healy. Grace Galloway. Frederica Gibbs. The crew was coached by Judith Ungermach. Second place and silver medalists, Adelaide University Boat Club. Celia Cowan. Talia Jones. Georgia Mee. Peter Terrell. The crew was coached by Brenton Terrell, Brinley Millward and Darren Potts. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, West Australian Rowing Club. Sienna Zamin. Georgia Patton. Gabby Morris. Kira Vermeesh. The crew was coached by Joe Tamigi and Chris Holliday. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions for 2017 and our medalists in the Under-21 Women's Quad Scull. We now move to the final of the Under-23 Women's Cock State. Current title holders are Mercantile Rowing Club. In lane 3, we have a composite from the University of Queensland, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and Melbourne University Boat Clubs. In lane 4, a composite from Sydney University Boat Club and UTS. In lane 5, a composite from Lindisfarne, Mersey, Buckingham and North Esk clubs in Tasmania. In lane 6, a composite from Mercantile Rowing Club and UTS. And in lane 7, a composite from the University of Queensland, Adelaide and Toowong.
And fantastic to see such a sizable field here in race 430, the under-23 women's Cox State, although fair to mention that there's a lot of composites with a lot of different clubs in here, but that being said, still great to see so many under-23 women's eights coming down the course. And we noticed in the race for lanes yesterday a little bit of a shutdown for a lot of the crews, just kind of paddling over the course. So unlikely that we'll be seeing the seedings from lane 5 and be the placings that will come through here. But the two crews to watch probably in the outside lanes from the University of Queensland and various other clubs, and Mercantile and Sydney Uni, obviously with a great pedigree in these women's sweep events. But at the moment, it is lane 3, the University of Queensland, Griffith Uni, and Melbourne University Boat Club composite crew of Ferris, Drenth, Rowan, Zucchelli, Cronin, Cooper, and Posey, coxed by Stephanie Long. On the far side there, the early race leaders had about a 1.5-second lead over the Mercantile UTS combination in lane 6 of Tomanovitz, Anazakas, Duggan, Stewart, Fessy, Green, Gleeson, Dempsey, and Adelaide Sester steering them down in second place at the moment. Then it was Sydney Uni in third, Lindisfarne Composite in fourth, and University of Queensland Composite number 2 in lane 7 in fifth place. But University of Queensland and Melbourne Uni, obviously, with a lot of national representatives in women's sweep boats over the last few years, particularly in the underage category. And Annabelle Eaton, one of the women's coaches at Melbourne Uni, taking the helm of the under-23 women's 8 last year at the under-23 World Championships. Yes, and the junior 8 the year before, actually. So Annabelle Eaton there with a lot of background in coaching the women's 8s here, but it's still University of Queensland on the far side. Leading at this stage now, 3.5 seconds clear over Mercantile UTS. Sydney Uni UTS still in third place. Lindisfarne in fourth, and University of Queensland number 2 in fifth place as they came through the halfway mark. The time there, 3:11.8 to this University of Queensland boat. We can see new Victorian export up to the Sunshine State, Hedda Cooper in number 7 seat there of the leading boat. Hedda, a member of last year's under-23 women's 8, and now studying medicine with Griffith University up on the Gold Coast, and under the tutelage now of Lincoln Handley, the head coach up there and previous head coach of both University of Queensland, as a matter of fact, and the WA Institute of Sport. Back in second place, however, it's Mercantile UTS starting to come under fire from this Sydney University boat in lane 3. Lane 4, sorry. Lauren Parsons, Laura Triggs, Raquel Cuevas, Lauren Fornazaro, Grace Reed, Lara Wainwright, Adelaide Guinness, and Dion Bediger with Rebecca Harrison with the rudder strings there for Sydney University UTS composite in lane 4 as they start to make a move now for the silver medal position. The University of Queensland, Melbourne Uni, Griffith Uni Composite in lane 3 have taken charge very early on here and put themselves in a very strong position indeed. We can see well and truly clear of the rest of the field as they come through the 1,500 metre mark in a time of 4:49.9 seconds. Mercantile slipping back a little bit, and as we said, now under increasing pressure from Sydney University. They're only 0.8 of a second back now, Sydney Uni. But those two crews pushing well clear of the Lindisfarne composite crew with Buckingham, Mersey and North Esk. That combination of Hannah Tippett, Christy Crow, Lily Reardon, Romy Keppel, Lauren Conway, Madeline Greenhill, Maddie Tippett, Annika Reardon and Alex Gruber actually winning the race for lanes yesterday and getting themselves into the top-seeded lane in lane 5. But with conditions like this, the lane seating doesn't really make too much of a difference here. It's just glorious racing conditions here on the Sydney International Regatta Centre. And the University of Queensland Boat Club making the most of those conditions in lane 3 as they move through 250 metres to go. And they're well clear here. But Mercantile now responding to that challenge from Sydney University, still in the number 2 spot. And the coxswains of both crews there, we can see, looking across every stroke or so to keep a very close eye on their main competition. But Mercantile have done very well over the last couple of years in sweep boats, picking up a bronze medal, I think it was, the women's under-23 pair with Gadsden, Simon Gadsden. I had a momentary blank there. Simon Gadsden leading that crew to a medal at the Under-23 World Championships in 2015. And they are known for their fast finishes and high rates as they come down to the line. But it's University of Queensland with the win. Mercantile with that turn of speed in the back 250 metres here is going to hold on for half a length in the silver medal spot. The Sydney Uni UTS Boat Club combination there in lane 4 will pick up the bronze medal. 1.5 seconds behind from that Mercantile boat. And it's going to be Lindisfarne Composite in 4th place, and University of Queensland number 2 will go through in 5th to round out our Under-23 Women's Cox State for 2017.
Recapping the results of that final of the Under-23 Women's Cox State, a win for the composite from University of Queensland, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and Melbourne University Boat Club. In second position, Mercantile and UTS Composite. And in third, the Sydney University and UTS Composite. Fourth, Lindisfarne, Mersey, Buckingham and North Esk Composite. And sixth, the University of Queensland, Adelaide, Toowong Composite. Provisional time for that race, 6 minutes, 27.58. The margins 7.59 and 1.88. The presentation of medals for the Under-21 Men's Quad Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by David Bagnall, President of Rowing ACT. Third place and bronze medalists, Swan River Rowing Club. William Williamson. Solomon Holiday. Patrick Boer. David Latham. The crew was coached by Antonio Moragavani, David Rich and Michael Hinsley. Second place and silver medalists, West Australian Rowing Club. Chase Dietner. John Pisano. Oscar Winter. Jonathan Ashby. The crew was coached by Joe Tamigi. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017 Sydney University Boat Club. Jacob Flanagan. Matt Murray. Charlie Wheatley. Leon Chambers. The crew was coached by Dustin Butler and Don McLaughlin. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions and medalists in the Under-21 Men's Quad. We now move to the final of the Under-23 Men's Cox State, racing for the Australian Federation of Old Oarsmen's Trophy. In lane 3, a composite from Mercantile, Mossman, Tamar and Melbourne University. In lane 4, Mercantile Rowing Club. In lane 5, Sydney University and Sydney Composite. In lane 6, Adelaide and Adelaide University Composite. And in lane 7, a composite from Toowong, the University of Queensland and Commercial Rowing Club.
Yeah, star-studded cast for race 431 at the under-23 men's Cox State final. Coming through the 500-metre mark, the race leaders there, Sydney University and Sydney Rowing Club Composite with the National Training Centre in lane 5. And they led through in a time of 1:24.72, but only 0.3 of a second behind was Mercantile in second place. And the Toowong Composite boat in lane 7 there, 0.03 back. 0.85 behind them, then it was Mercantile Composite and Adelaide University only a second off. So a very tight field approaching the 1,000-metre mark. And going for the double in this event will be Robert Black and Liam Donald in the lane 3 boat from Mercantile, Mossman Tamar and Melbourne University. They've won the under-23 men's pair at this event and also won the under-23 men's 4 with Thomas Barnes and Charlie Patterson, who are currently sitting in lane 5 in the Sydney University Sydney boat, who did lead through the 500-metre mark, but have now conceded the lead to the Toowong Composite crew there in lane 7, Toowong University of Queensland and Commercial. William Johnston, Ollie Smith, Darcy Ruck, Elliot Appel, Harley Moore and Adam Backer. And Nick Pettigrew and Jack Armitage with Daniela Serra, the coxswain of the under-23 women's 8 last year, steering that leading boat through their third 500. And a number of members of the Australian under-23 team over the last couple of years racing in several of these boats. But this Toowong Composite boat with Uni of Queensland and Commercial. A lot of athletes there from the Queensland Academy of Sport and the National Training Centre leading the charge through the third 500, extending their lead out now to just under half a length with Sydney University Sydney Rowing Club sitting now in second place. That crew of Thomas Barnes, Charlie Patterson, Lachlan Miles, Jack O'Brien, Andrew Judge, Jacob Bicknell, Campbell Watson, Alex Purnell with Frank Gorlas coxing them down here as they start to move back up on this Toowong Composite crew. So we might see a change in the guard again as we come through the 1,500-metre mark of Sydney Uni and Sydney Rowing Club put on a bit of a push, trying to peg back this Toowong Composite, or realistically Queensland crew there, although a number of those athletes now training in Canberra at the NTC, but it's still Toowong, University of Queensland and Commercial in the lead, 4:18.59 through the 1,500-metre mark. 0.8 of a second back, still Sydney Uni and Sydney Rowing Club trying to put a dent in that lead, but the Toowong boat and University of Queensland Commercial boat have put a dent in that again as they move out now to a comfortable half a length. It's Mercantile sitting in third, or Mercantile Composite. Mercantile sitting in fourth place in the Adelaide combination in lane 6 of Frigard, Ems, Nielsen, Stamatis, Grant Deans, Course, Santon and Georgia Litt. The coxswain sitting in the number 5 position now as they come down to the line. But it's a very good race here for the gold medal position in this under-23 men's 8. And knowing the turn of speed that certainly Sydney Uni has turned out in a number of these open men's 8s events of the national championships, they're going to be one to watch here. But Toowong, knowing that form well, has wound up with the line nice and early. Danny Serra in the back there, calling her crew up as they come down to the line. But there's that turn of speed that Sydney is so well known for. And they are sprinting now, putting a lot of pressure on this Queensland boat in lane 7. It's going to come right down to the line between Sydney University, Sydney Boat Club. But Toowong, University of Queensland are going to hold on, I think. It's going to be very close indeed. What a finish there from those two boats. And a fantastic effort from Sydney Uni, Sydney Boat Club, or Sydney Rowing Club, sorry, but just not quite enough. The final margin under half a second between those two boats, with the Mercantile Composite boat going through in third place in lane 3. Fourth was the Mercantile boat, and fifth, Adelaide University. But what a fantastic finish there. The final margin, 0.23 between those two boats up the front.
Confirming the results of the Under-23 men's Coxed 8 final. In first position, Toowong University of Queensland and Commercial Composite. Second, Sydney University Boat Club Sydney Rowing Club Composite. Third, the composite of Mercantile, Mossman, Tamar and Melbourne University Boat Club. Fourth, Mercantile. Fifth, Adelaide Rowing Club, Adelaide University. The time for that race, 5 minutes, 45.8 seconds. The margins 0.23 and 4. The presentation of medals for the Under-23 Women's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by David Bagnall, President of Rowing ACT. Third place and bronze medalists, Sydney University Boat Club and UTS Rowing Club. Lauren Parsons from Sydney University Boat Club. Laura Triggs from Sydney University Boat Club. Raquel Cuvas from Sydney University Boat Club. Lauren Fornazaro from Sydney University Boat Club. Grace Reed from UTS. Lara Wainwright from UTS. Adelaide Guinness from UTS and Dion Batiga from Sydney University Boat Club. The crew was cocked by Rebecca Harrison from UTS and coached by Alfie Young and David Geely. Second place and silver medalists, Mercantile Rowing Club and UTS Rowing Club. Ellie Tomanovitz from Mercantile. Annie Anazakis from Mercantile. Kate Duggan from Mercantile. Georgia Stewart from Mercantile. Emma Fessy from UTS. Kirsty Green from Mercantile. Georgie Gleeson from Mercantile and their stroke India Dempsey from Mercantile. The crew was coxed by Adelaide Kester from Mercantile and coached by Bridget Carlisle, David Geely and Simon Gadsden. Gold medalists and champions for 2017, the composite from the University of Queensland Boat Club, Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise and Melbourne University Boat Club. The crew, Tyler Ferris, Miller Ferris, Kelly Drenth and Kate Rowan, all from the University of Queensland Boat Club. Claudia Zucchelli from Melbourne University Boat Club. Caitlin Cronin from the University of Queensland Boat Club. Hedda Cooper from Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise, and Ellen Pozzi from the University of Queensland Boat Club. The crew was coxed by Stephanie Long from the University of Queensland Boat Club and coached by Ned Drayden, Annabelle Eaton and Lincoln Handley. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions for 2017 and our medalists in the Under-23 Women's 8. We now move to the final of the Open Women's Quad Scull. Current title holders, a commercial composite. In lane 3, we have a composite from Fremantle and West Australian of Steger, Knock and McPhail. In lane 4, Swan River, Whelan, Rookawai, Maruli and Crowley. In lane 5, a composite from Adelaide, the University of Queensland and Sydney rowing clubs of Hudson, Parker, Alton and Aldersea. In lane 6, a composite from West Australian, Huon and Toowong of James, King, Nesbitt and Vermeesh.
So picking up the final of the Open Women's Quad Scull here, just as they've come through the 1,000-metre mark with the Adelaide composite boat with the University of Queensland Sydney Rowing Club, Harriet Hudson, Ellie Parker, Lily Alton and Ollie Aldersea from the National Training Centre and Adelaide Boat Club in the lead here. Time through the 1,000-metre mark, 3:21.89 and only 0.8 of a second back then. It was the little lighty combination in lane 6 from WA Rowing Club, Huon and Toowong, Amy James, Georgia Nesbitt, Hannah Vermeesh and Katie King. Amy James and Georgia Nesbitt have just jumped out from winning the Open Women's Lightweight Quadruple Scull and both members of the Senior A Lighty Quad Scull for the 2017 Australian rowing team this year. And interestingly, a couple of the members, actually 3 of the members there, of this leading boat at the moment, Harriet Hudson, Ellie Parker and Lily Alton, having also just jumped out of the Under-23 women's quad. So quite a few athletes, no doubt, feeling the pain train here in the legs as they're going through their second 2,000-metre event in about an hour. University of Queensland, Sydney Boat Club and Adelaide just leading with a very narrow margin over the lighties here, but a couple of very tough little roosters, I believe the term is there. Amy James, one of them, and Georgia Nesbitt, another, putting some serious pressure on the open weight or heavyweight boat in the lead there. Swan River sitting in third place as they came through the 1,500-metre mark. The margin between the top two still less than a second, but we're seeing a good turn of speed from that leading boat as they've made a bit of a push as they come into the final 500 metres, trying to consolidate their lead at this last stage of the race. But the lighties are always well known for having a fair turn of speed up their sleeve as they come into the late stages. So I'd be wanting to put a bit more than half a length into them here as they come down to the line. And Olympia Aldersea going for the, I guess, the trifecta, or probably what would be called the treble in the Open Women's events. She picked up a silver medal in the women's single, a gold medal with Madeline Edmonds in the women's double scull, and now looking to pick up another medal here in the Open Women's Quad Scull. And she is actually the only member of that Open women's sculling squad, the Australian women's sculling squad at the moment racing in this event. The rest all rowing in small boats and some in the eights. But here comes that turn of speed from the lighties Georgia Nesbitt in the stroke seat with Amy James behind her. Amy James, a world university champion in the single scull, the lightweight single scull, and Georgia Nesbitt, and an under-23 and Senior A Australian team member, winding up, trying to peg back the heavies in the lead here. But University of Queensland, Ollie Aldersey leading them in the stroke seat. Harriet Hudson in the 3 seat, winding for the line and responding in kind, and they're going to pick up the gold medal with about 3/4 of a length over the crew from Hewan to Wong. Or WA Rowing Club in lane 6. A great silver medal for those girls, nonetheless. Third across the line in lane 4, it'll be the crew from Swan River of Whelan, Rukawai, Maruli and Crowley. And then fourth to come down and round out this open women's quad scull will be the Fremantle Composite with WA Rowing Club, Sarah Steger, Knock, and Caitlin McPhail. But a fantastic race there up the front for the gold and silver medals from those 2 boats, and a great result for those girls.
And the results of that open women's quad, a fantastic win there for the composite from Adelaide, University of Queensland and Sydney Rowing Club. In second position, the West Australian Huon and Toowong Composite. In third, Swan River. In fourth, Fremantle and West Australian Composite. Time for that race, 6 minutes 45.14 seconds. The margin 1.45 and 12.56. The presentation of medals and the Australian Federation of Old Oarsmen's Trophy for the Under-23 Men's Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. The medals and trophy will be presented by John Boltby, Life Member of Rowing Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, the composite of Mercantile, Mossman, Tamar and Melbourne University Boat Club. Hugo van der Graaf from Mercantile. Angus Maloney from Mercantile. Andrew Burke from Mercantile. James McCann from Melbourne University Boat Club. Jack Lawrence from Mercantile Rowing Club. Henry Yule from Tamar and the Tasmanian Institute of Sport. Rob Black from Mossman Rowing Club and the New South Wales Institute of Sport. Liam Donald from Mercantile Rowing Club and the Victorian Institute of Sport. The crew was coxed by James Rook from Mercantile and coached by David Pincus, Simon Gadsden and Brett Crow. Second place and silver medalists, Sydney University Boat Club and Sydney Rowing Club. Tom Barnes from Sydney Rowing Club and Charlie Patterson from Sydney Rowing Club. Lachlan Miles from Sydney University Boat Club Jack O'Brien from Sydney University Boat Club. Andrew Judge from Sydney University Boat Club. Jacob Bicknell, Sydney University Boat Club. Campbell Watts from Sydney University Boat Club and the National Training Centre. Alex Purnell from Sydney University Boat Club and the National Training Centre. And their cox, Frank Goulas. The crew was coached by Don McLaughlin, Donovan Check and Dustin Butler. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, the composite from Toowong, University of Queensland Boat Club and Commercial. William Johnston from Toowong. Oliver Smith from Toowong. Darcy Ruck from Commercial. Elliot Apel from Toowong. Harley Moore from University of Queensland Boat Club and the Queensland Academy of Sport. Adam Backer from University of Queensland Boat Club and the Queensland Academy of Sport. Nick Pettigrew from Toowong. And Jack Armitage from Toowong and the Queensland Academy of Sport. And their cox, Danielle Serra from Toowong. The crew was coached by Ben Southwell, Kieran Dwyer and Alex Field. The Australian Federation of Old Oarsmen's Trophy is now being presented. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the 2017 Australian champions and medalists in the under-23 men's 8. We now move to the final of the Open Men's Quad Scull. In lane 4, a composite from Melbourne University, Swan River, Huon and Sydney. Hicks, Muir, Hayes and Smith. In lane 5, a composite from Swan River, Black Mountain, UTS and the ANU of Anthill, Playfair, Letcher and Watts. In lane 6, Banks, Thornton, Wheeler, Sanders and Kelly.
So we're joining the Open Men's Quad Scull final as they come through 500 metres to go, and the race leaders from the get-go here have been the Swan River Composite with Black Mountain UTS and ANU in lane 5, Caleb Anthill, a member of the world champion gold medalist under 23 men's quad last year, Hamish Playfair. Luke Letcher, also a member of that quad, and David Watts, a member of the Rio 2016 Olympic team. Leading the charge down here. Their time through the 1500 metre was 4:27.35. They've got 8.5 seconds over the nearest contender, and that's the Melbourne Uni Composite with Swan River, Huon and Sydney, Josh Hicks, Wilson Muir, Chris Hayes and Jordan Smith. And Banks in lane 6, currently sitting in third, but almost a foregone conclusion here in the Open Men's Quad Scull. Only 3 in the race. But in the number 1 spot here, it is that centre lane from Swan River, Black Mountain, UTS and ANU with about 3 to 4 lengths. A very commanding lead here with 100 metres left to go, and they will pick up a resounding win for their respective clubs. A number of those athletes down training with the National Training Centre and a couple training at home, so fantastic to see them jumping in these composite boats to record some solid wins and get some great racing under their belt. And it will be Anthill, Playfair, Letcher and Watts with a comfortable gold medal in the Open Men's Quadruple Scull. The silver will go to Josh Hicks, Wilson Muir, Christopher Hayes and Jordan Smith from Melbourne Uni, Swan River, Huon and Sydney. And it'll be Banks, the combo of Thornton, Wheeler, Sanders and Kelly to come down and finish up in third and round out race 433, the final of the Open Men's Quad Scull.
Confirming those results of the Open Men's Quad Scull. A win for the composite from Swan River, Black Mountain, UTS and ANU. A second place to Melbourne University, Swan River, Huon and Sydney Composite. And in third position, Banks. Time for that race, 5 minutes 59.29, the margin 9.22. The presentation of medals for the Open Women's Quadruple Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by John Boltby, Life Member of Rowing Australia. Third place and bronze medalists, Swan River Rowing Club. The crew of Alexis Whelan, Amanda Rookawai, Adriana Marulli and Aileen Crowley. The crew was coached by Jack Fisher. Second place and silver medalists, the composite from West Australian, Huon, UTS and Toowong. Georgia Nesbitt from Huon and the National Training Centre. Amy James from Toowong and the National Training Centre. Hannah Vermeesh from West Australian Rowing Club and the West Australian Institute of Sport, and Sophie Gerapatritis from UTS. The crew is coached by Alex Field, Alfie Young and Paul Newbon. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, the composite from Adelaide Rowing Club, Sydney Rowing Club and the University of Queensland Boat Club. Harriet Hudson from Sydney Rowing Club, Eloise Parker and Lily Alton from the University of Queensland Boat Club, and Olympia Aldersey from Adelaide Rowing Club and the National Training Centre. The crew is coached by Jason Lane and Ned Drayden. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions and medalists in the Open Women's Quad. And we now move to the final of the Open Women's Coxed 8, racing for the Florence Eaton Trophy. The current holders are Mercantile, and they are in lane 3. In lane 4, Melbourne University Boat Club. In lane 5, a composite from Commercial, Brisbane and GPS, Buckingham, Huon and Fremantle. In lane 6, Sydney University Boat Club. In lane 7, a composite from Adelaide and Sydney Rowing Clubs with the University of Queensland, Banks and UTS.
Thanks, Lizzie, and they're underway, and it is the Sydney University Boat Club crew that is out in the lead. Wallace Russell had a couple of gold medal performances already. Serena Cox, Karina Simpson, Jen Horton, Rowena Meredith, Sarah Cook, Fiona Ewing, Georgie Gotch, Danielle Pettit is the coxswain, and Alfie Young is the coach of that crew. Sarah's been joining us in the commentary box over the last couple of years, but has been called into the New South Wales Queen's Cup crew and just getting some preparation here, racing in the 8th final for the Florence Eaton Trophy. Mercantile VIS, the current title holders, but the Sydney University Boat Club crew, as I said, with Sarah Cook, now the president of Sydney University Boat Club, are holding the early lead. Over the composite crew, that crew there has Phoebe Pato of Adelaide Uni, Maddie Coonan of Toowong, Bronwyn Cox, University of WA, Annabelle McIntyre of Fremantle, Sarah Hoare of Hewen, Megan Volker of Bucks, Jess Hall of Brisbane and GPS, and Maddie Edmonds of Commercial. Caitlin Hawkins is the coxswain, and the coaches Alex Field, Brett Crow and Ben Southwell, and of course our national champions in the coxless pair, Sarah Hoare and Megan Volker, are in that boat. The Melbourne University crew very prominent as well. So just 0.8 by 0.8 by 1.2 by 0.04. So to use the race caller's term, you could throw a blanket over them at halfway in the Open Women's Coxed 8. Mercantile, Hannah Lewis, Olivia Siblin, Madeline Thomas, Amanda Bateman, Jess Morrison, Jen Cleary, Katrina Werian, Addie Dunkley-Smith, Roy Zhang, the coxswain, and the coach Simon Gadsden. And Melbourne University, India McKenzie, Alice Arch, Alice McNamara, Jacqueline Hart, Annika Hoffman, Catherine Mitchellmore, Elise Frenetic, Lucy Steffen, Sarah Ben David, the coxswain, and the coaches Annabelle Eaton and Bert Koku. And Adelaide Composite, we've got Elizabeth Halsell of UTS, Emma Fessy of UTS, Kate Rowan, University of Queensland Boat Club National Training Centre, Alexandra Hagan of Banks and Western Australian Institute of Sport, Caitlin Cronin, University of Queensland Boat Club, Susanna Deer, Sydney Rowing Club, Leah Saunders, Sydney, Molly Goodman, Adelaide, and Kendall Brody's the coxswain, and the coaches Lockie Carter, Jason Lane and David Geely. So the commercial crew is, well, I'm saying commercial crew because the stroke has got a commercial singlet and there's a lot of other singlets in the boat. But Maddie Edmonds in the stroke seat has driven that commercial composite crew to the lead. Caitlin Hawkins, the coxswain, you can see there on the screen. She's down low. She's encouraging the crew. Looks like there's been a seating change from the way it rode the other day. I think Jess Hall was in the 5 seat yesterday, but now moved up into the 7 seat. They rode a couple of races together, Maddie Edmonds and Jess Hall, going back, I don't know how many years, 9 years together, one behind the other. And here they are in the stern pair of this Open Women's Coxed 8 and holding the lead by about a half a length over Mercantile. The proud Mercantilians trying to peg back the leaders of the composite crew. Caitlin Hawkins looks across, tells the crew I've got about 4 seats. And the Mercantile coxswain looking across at the leading boat. Then back to Sydney Uni. Spent a fair bit of petrol in the first 500 Sydney Uni and starting to pay the price for that now. So Merck's on the charge. The peloton, about 30 bicycles in it. But it looks to me like this composite crew from half a dozen states by the looks. Adelaide Uni, Toowong, University of WA, Fremantle, Hewen, Buckingham, Brisbane and GPS and Commercial, and a University of Queensland Boat Club coxswain holding the lead. Mercantile lifting though. So Merck's still about a canvas back inside the last 25, 30 strokes or so. Edmonds trying to lift. Hocking's looking at a cross. Mercantile driving at them. The Mercantile crew coming home strongly. The Composite crew still a metre or so in front with a couple of strokes left. And the Composite crew will win it in the middle of the field. Mercantile second. Third, Sydney University Boat Club. Fourth, Melbourne Uni Boat Club. And fifth, the Adelaide Composite crew.
Well, the results of that final of the Open Women's 8 was a fantastic win for the Composite from Commercial, Brisbane and GPS, Buckingham, Huon, Fremantle and the University of Queensland. In second position, the Mercantile Victorian Institute of Sport crew, and in third, Sydney University Boat Club. Fourth, Melbourne University Boat Club. Fifth, Adelaide, Sydney, University of Queensland, Banks and UTS Composite. The time for that race, 6 minutes 20.96 seconds. The margins 0.91 and 5.14. The presentation of medals for the Open Men's Quad Scull Championship of Australia. The medals will be presented by Reinhold Barchi, Life Member of Rowing Australia. Second place and silver medalists, the Composite from Melbourne University Boat Club, Swan River, Huon and Sydney Rowing Clubs. Jordan Smith from Melbourne University Boat Club. Chris Hayes from Swan River Rowing Club and the West Australian Institute of Sport, Wilson Muir from Huon and the Tasmanian Institute of Sport, and Josh Hicks from Sydney Rowing Club and the National Training Centre. The crew is coached by Donovan Check, Antonio Moragavani and John Dreesen. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2017, Swan River, Black Mountain, UTS, ANU and National Training Centre Composite. Caleb Antill from the ANU, Hamish Playfair from UTS, Luke Letcher from Black Mountain Rowing Club and David Watts from Swan River Rowing Club. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate our Australian champions and silver medalists in the Open Men's Quad Scull. And they're off in our next race, the Open Men's Coxed 4. In lane 3, we have Sydney Rowing Club. In lane 4, UTS. In lane 5, Melbourne University Boat Club. And in lane 6, the West Australian Rowing Club.
So Sydney N-Swiss on the far side of the course. So I've just been advised it's just Sydney Rowing Club. Edward White, Christopher Morgan, Charlie Patterson and William O'Connell. George Davis, the Cox. Donovan Check is the coach of that crew. Chris Morgan actually will be rowing in the South Australian Kings Cup 8. UTS, Ben Coombs, Zach Von Appen, Paddy Holt, Charles Risby, Tim Morrison, the Cox, Tim McLaren and John Smythe, the coaches. Melbourne University, Nicholas Stevenson, Christopher Hargraves, Isaac Smith and Simon Keenan. T-San Koo making a comeback as a coxswain. And David England, 1980 Olympic coxswain in Moscow, is coaching that crew. And Lane 6, Western Australian Rowing Club, Wace, Tom Norman, Jonathan Ashby, Sam Hughes, Matt Cochran, Andrew Lee is the coxswain and the coach, Joe Tamigi. They're starting to settle down now, and it is the Sydney crew that leads 132.76. George Davis is the NSWIS scholarship holder in that crew, so they are Sydney NSWIS. Melbourne University in second place, UTS in third, Western Australian Rowing Club, Wace at the rear. Davis was cox of the Australian under-21 team in 2016. So the Sydney crew over on the far side of the course. Sydney having a very good regatta. Of course, Spencer Turren winning the single scull, and Gus Moore and Josh Hicks winning the pair championship of Australia. And here's a coxed 4 for Sydney out in the lead. They're best part of the length clear, I'd suggest, over the Melbourne University Boat Club crew. But yeah, 2.4 seconds, or the best of a length there. And follows Coombs as the Melbourne Uni crew, then UTS, and at the rear is the Western Australian Rowing Club crew. So still Sydney Rowing Club with their coxswain up in the bow seat, George Davis, looking very calm. The young man looking very calm indeed. Bowman just looking across at the rest of the field. And he sees that he's got a margin over the rest of the field, which includes a bit of clear water. Melbourne Uni in second place. Nicholas Stevenson, Christopher Hargraves, Isaac Smith, Simon Keenan, T-San Koo, the coxswain. And in the middle then, University of Technology, Sydney, Ben Coombs, Zach Von Appen, Paddy Holt, Charles Risby, Tim Morrison, the coxswain, and they're coached by the evergreen Tim McLaren and John Smythe. And at the rear, the Western Australian Rowing Club crew, Western Australian Institute of Sport, Tom Norman, Jonathan Ashby, Sam Hughes, Matthew Cochran, Andrew Lee, and the coach, Joseph Tamigi. So we're in lane order at the moment, holding the lead, lane 3. I reckon UTS has drawn level with Melbourne Uni, and or 0.39. I'm not quite there yet, but those bow numbers in lanes 4 and 5 are bow ball to bow ball at the moment. And the crew from Melbourne University answering the challenge from UTS. It's a good race for second. While that's going on, the Sydney Rowing Club crew continues to lead and has the best part of a length of clear water between themselves and that battle for silver and bronze. And back in fourth place is the West Australian Rowing Club crew, who will not make it to the dais. So Sydney Rowing Club are going to lead all the way in the Open Men's Coxed 4. Defending champions Sydney Rowing Club, and they're going to make it back-to-back 2016, 2017 Sydney International Rowing Regatta champions as the Melbourne University Boat Club crew answer the challenge from University of Technology Sydney. Get a little closer to Sydney Rowing Club in the dying stages, but Sydney will get across first, half a length on the line, Melbourne Uni second, University of Technology Sydney third, and Western Australian Rowing Club fourth.
And the unofficial results now for race 435, the Open Men's Coxed Ball Final. In first place in a time of 6:27.52, Sydney Rowing Club. In second place, Melbourne University. In third, UTS. And fourth place, West Australian Rowing Club. The margins there, 1.42 and 2.40. Ladies and gentlemen, now the medal presentations for the Open Women's Cox Day Championship of Australia and the Florence Eaton Trophy. The medals and trophy to be presented by Mr. Reinhold Batchi, OAM, life member of Rowing Australia and namesake of the Men's National Training Centre facility in Canberra. In third place and the bronze medalists, Sydney University. Wallace Russell. Serena Cox. Karina Simpson. Genevieve Horton. Rowena Meredith. President of Sydney University Boat Club, Sarah Cook. Fiona Ewing. The stroke seat, Georgie Gotch. And coxswain Danielle Petit, coached by Alfie Young. In second place and silver medalists representing Mercantile Rowing Club and the Victorian Institute of Sport. In the bow seat, Hannah Lewis. Olivia Sibyllin. Madeline Thomas. Amanda Bateman. Jess Morrison. Jennifer Cleary. Katrina Werry. Addie Dunkley Smith. The coxswain Roy Zhang, coached by Simon Gadsden. And in first place, the gold medalists and Australian champions in the Open Women's Cox State for 2017, The Commercial Brisbane GPS Buckingham Hewen Fremantle University of WA Toowong and Adelaide University Composite boat. In the bow seat, Phoebe Paddo. Madeline Coonan from Toowong. Bronwyn Cox from the University of WA. Annabelle McIntyre from Fremantle Rowing Club. Sarah Hoare from Hewen. Megan Volker from Buckingham Rowing Club. Jess Hall from Brisbane and GPS. And from Commercial Rowing Club, Madeline Edmonds. The coxswain, Caitlin Hawkins from Toowong Rowing Club. And the coaches, Alex Field, Brett Crow and Ben Southwell. And now the presentation of the Florence Eaton Trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the medalists and Australian champions for 2017 in the Open Women's Cox State.
And Swan River will cross the line first in the club women's double sculls semi-final number 1. Aileen Crowley and Adriana Maruli are going to lead all the way to win that race. Sydney.